Welcome to White Widow Sports, your front row seat to all things sports. Whether it's the biggest plays, the hottest takes, or the stories behind the stats, we've got you covered. From the plays, athletes, fantasy football, or just random sports, we're breaking it all down with passion, precision, and plenty of debate. So lace up, grab your gear, and let's get into it.
Well, guys, we promised you that we would start uploading some different content besides our weekly podcast. You may have already seen by now that episode 3 is live. Hope you guys are checking that out and liking that type of content. But of course, it would be our luck that within hours of us recording our podcast yesterday, some huge news would shock the landscape of the NBA. We've had a big trade go through. We wanted to sit in front of our computers and talk about that for a little bit and get that out to you to kind of get your guys' thoughts on it. So, Chris, tell the people about the trade and what your reaction was when that news broke.
Well, yeah, the details are there's a lot of moving pieces. It also includes the Jazz. The main piece that people want to know and talk about are going to be Anthony Davis is kind of the Mavericks and Lakers first round pick in 2029. They're going to send off Luka Doncic, and there's a few other moving pieces. I suppose I'll start on the Mavericks side of things. This tells me two things: that the Mavericks want to try to win now, which they already were, so that baffles me. Because they made the finals and everything. They didn't really come close to winning at all, but they were there. So this tells me they want to win now. A and B, they don't believe in the guy that got him there. So I'm as shocked as anyone. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's kind of weird at first when you see that. I mean, Luca is considered a household name at this point. He's 25 years old. I believe he's a five-time All-Star. You don't see players like that at this stage of their career get dealt very often. It's obvious to see why the Lakers wanted this trade. We could be looking at the last year or two of LeBron James's historic career. So making sure that they have that next great Laker in place in bringing in Luca, I think it's a great move for them. A lot of people were expecting the Lakers to make a move for a center and maybe let Anthony Davis move to that powered forward position. Instead, they go in a completely different direction. Um, Obviously, this is a firepower type move for the Lakers. I think it gives them a lot of offensive scoring capabilities. I think it drastically hurts their defense while making the Mavericks a very well rounded team. Kind of as stuff has come out over the course of the day. I mean, I saw this around midnight last night, but I think the details that are coming out, a lot of people said that this has to be an internal issue with the Mavs. This has something to do with the relationship with Luka in that building, more so than them wanting Anthony Davis or anything like that. And I've even seen some concern over Luka's weight. Apparently, he's ballooned
Mhm.
up to about 270. It makes him one of the top 10 heaviest players at his position within the NBA. Um, I mean, just his play and his points per game and stuff like that. I haven't seen his weight negatively affecting it. So again, I'm very shocked that he has moved right here so close to the deadline. Very shocking indeed. Brian, kind of what have you seen about this trade? Do you think one team won over the other, or what were your thoughts on it?
Well, my main thought is it does hurt the Lakers in defense losing Anthony Davis. Um, I guess my main thing is, does that hurt LeBron James? And like you said, it's may potentially one of his last couple of years in the league. Does that hurt him? And kind of, I know overall his legacy, he's always going to be one of the greats. There's a big debate: who's better, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. We've all discussed it. It's a fun topic. Um, you get into the old school people like myself, it's always going to be Jordan. New school people, it's always going to be LeBron James. So I guess that's the biggest thing. And the biggest thing I see in the trade is, does that hurt the Lakers for this year? And losing that great defensive player. And on the other hand, does that help the Mavericks? Does that them gaining that defense and that, you know, body down there in the paint? Does that, is that a plus for them? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And and hopefully it's good on both ends and everybody's happy.
I'll play off the LeBron thing a little bit, and let's see if this comes out as nice in my head on the camera. It looks to me like the Lakers want to build for the future. You do have a household name, a face of the franchise. I thought for the Mavericks, and you can't even say that about too many teams. Maybe Wemby and San Antonio, but it looks like the Lakers want to build for the future. Now, does LeBron, what's the word? Maybe care about building for the future? No, I think he's got a few years left and he wants to win while he can. And can he do that without that big body in the paint, the rebounds, the blocks, everything like that? I mean, they still have time to go out and get someone else. Um, but what I wanted to say was sometimes you go out and you build for the future and it doesn't exactly work out the way you had envisioned in your head. Sometimes you want to win right now. And what was I trying to say? Sometimes you want to win right now, and the future works out for you anyway. So sometimes building for the future can work out just or even more poorly than not worrying about the future. Sometimes things can just fall right into place. And I guess the Lakers, I've also heard the conditioning problems. I didn't know that 270 was on the table right there. So that's a wild stat number to hear. But I think if he is going to get motivated to get in better shape and lead a future franchise, the Lakers are always a place that someone's going to be motivated to do that in. So, can you really say who's right or wrong here? Because you could be building towards a future that doesn't work out. You could be trying to win now and not win out. I like to think the Lakers kind of won this one, though.
I mean, I've seen a lot of discord about that. A lot of people, I think the initial shock of Luka being moved made everybody immediately say the Lakers won this trade. It was an A+ transaction for them. And I'm not so sure. I mean, the Mavs look to be very well rounded now. They still got Clay, they still have Kyrie. Now they add that defensive game that Anthony Davis brings to them. You get the blocks, you get the steals. I mean, it's going to make them very well rounded in that lineup, and it might even open up opportunities for that lineup to flourish even more because of how much focus you had in the game plan for Luka. I mean, he was taking a lot of shots, and that's not a bad thing because he is one of the best players in the NBA. But is it addition by subtraction for Dallas? That being said, I mean, is it a shift in mentality for the Lakers to say, well, we've had LeBron and we've had AD and it hasn't worked for us. It didn't work for us last year. They're both a year older. Yes, we're building to the future because I believe AD is 32. He's gotten hurt a lot. Do they view him on the backside of his career, whereas they can bring in the 25-year-old to score along with LeBron and say, hey, we're just not going to worry about the defensive side of things. We're going to try to put up 140 points every week and see if you can keep up. Is that something that they're trying to do where when they get into these late season games, the must win games, and certainly the postseason, are they just going to try to dog race everybody and put everything out on the table, say, hey, we're going to drop X amount of points and we're going to see if you can do the same? I mean, I do think AD is going to be missed. I think that's the biggest shock to me is that the pieces that were involved, you didn't see a 1-for-1 exchange between the two teams. But while everybody originally saw this as a huge move for the Lakers, and maybe it is moving forward, but I don't see that as necessarily being the case for this year.
I think a lot of what I saw online or watching ESPN this morning, you know, it looks like nobody was aware this was even going to happen. I think they said LeBron James had gone out to a late dinner up there in New
Right.
York and then got it over his phone over Twitter like the rest of us. It's so I wonder, also what was the secrecy? What was the real late night, here you go, let's shock the world, instead of making a big kind of doing it midday kind of thing. It's just, I don't know. The whole thing seems a little weird to me.
I
But
Well, I
think
mean,
there's
again,
a
still
lot.
I'm not in the
there,
back office, so I don't know all the little details, the ins and outs of practice. Is weight a factor? Is what's going on? Injuries a factor? What's going on? So it's going to be interesting to see over the next couple of days. What really made this happen the way that it happened.
Well, I mean, like I said, at this point, episode 3 of our podcast is out, and one of the topics that we discussed was the Jimmy Butler situation down in Miami, and that is played out very publicly. There is a lot of public friction between the player and the team. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have not heard even a whisper or a rumbling of anything going on between Luka and Dallas that would cause something like this to happen. And I think the biggest surprise to me, if you believe it, is that LeBron wasn't in the know. Because I think a lot of people attribute LeBron James to being the puppet master of every team that he's on. They think that
Yeah.
he's got full roster control. He can get a coach hired or fired. He can get players traded for and traded away just at the snap of his fingers. A lot of people truly walk around believing that LeBron James is the general manager of the Lakers, I think. And so for him to say, "Hey, I was at dinner with my wife. I was blindsided with everybody else by this news," and to say that he had no idea that Anthony Davis was getting traded and that Luka was coming over, I thought that was very surprising. But AD didn't know, Luka didn't know. I mean, I was told that the coaches didn't know that it was all done by front offices, and everybody was just as shocked as fans were. Very unique situation. I'm interested to see how it plays out and what kind of news follows along.
Well, I've seen something, and maybe they're just playing devil's advocate. Is if the Lakers now with a huge hole in the paint, and defensively, if they're not going to be able to keep winning, does LeBron look to? I think he has a no trade clause that he's allowed to waive himself. Does he move on to somewhere for a year or two left in his career, allegedly or suspectedly? Or with a few days left in this trade deadline, apparently they have another first round draft pick in their pocket to play with. Do they go out and get a center? And who would it even be? Do either of those things happen? I believe I've seen something say LeBron's not thinking about waiving that clause. He's thinking about staying around. Honestly, why would he leave his kid? And even with that hole, you're still a decent team. It's not stupid to think you could make a run with what you have. It's just not ideal.
I mean, kind of like what I was saying, this wasn't a direct one for one swap as far as positionally goes.
Right.
Luca does not fill AD spot in the lineup no more than AD fills Luca's in Dallas. So you added something to make a different strength. And it's kind of one of those, is this a net loss or is this a net gain for both teams? I think that's what makes it interesting to look at the how dynamic it is and what it does for the lineup, the schemes, the game plans, and things of that nature. Um, I mean, I think anywhere LeBron goes, you have to see Bronny go with him. There was a
Mm.
point that the Lakers made by drafting him in the second round. I think it was pick 55. They're not going to use that pick on somebody that they are just willing to turn around and ship off if they didn't have a reason to. And that reason was LeBron James is also there. So, I mean, I think if LeBron were to go somewhere else, Bronny would be going with him. But even then, who's in the market to make that kind of deal 4 days before the trade deadline? I think it's just too much. I think it makes way too much sense for the Lakers to now say, okay, we made this move. We didn't know we would. This was step one. Step two is now we've got to make up for it, and we've got a few days left and try to get the best help they can at big, which was already by some opinions a need for them. I mean, they needed a true center because I don't think Anthony Davis wanted to play the center role. I think he would have really benefited from having a true center on the lineup. And now they just traded away a very talented big, and so they're going to need even more help. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them try to make another couple of moves right here before the deadline.
It's all very interesting. I guess we just have to wait and see how it all folds out. I wish all the players the best. The both teams, I wish them the best. Hopefully they, you know, continue on and we see them in the playoffs and they do make runs. So um, I'm pretty much out of information. Do you guys got anything else?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing how things turn out in the next, what is it, 4 days, the February 6th deadline. Um, I don't think anything's going to top this, but something could certainly help this make a lot more sense if they are able to go out and make some moves and even deal away. I don't have the exact pick in front of me, what the other first round pick the Lakers have to throw out there, what year it is, if it's protected or not with a lottery pick. So I'm not even sure exactly what that pick is, but I'd be surprised to see them deal another first round pick out there to fill that hole, especially if they think that filling that hole will make them a contender right now for LeBron's last few years, however many that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody that's possibly more knowledgeable about basketball than us, we don't pretend to be experts, but any thoughts that you guys have, feel free to drop those down in the comments for us. Again, we just kind of wanted to drop some thoughts that we had of our own. This was a big news story. Like Chris said, we've got 4 days left until the trade deadline. We expect something to happen with Jimmy Butler and things of that nature, but I think it's pretty safe to say this was a huge trade. Nobody really saw this coming, so we wanted to drop this video for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know what else you want us to cover as we go ahead, and give us thoughts on this whole situation. Who do you think won the trade? I'd be interested to hear some of you guys' thoughts. Thank you.
And don't forget to check out episode 3 that just came out today as well.
Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill.